Small fringe minority.
All right. What is it? Friday night? Must be the Friday Night Radio Baloney Live. Friday Night Radio Baloney Live. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. How's everybody doing out there? Good to see you guys. Looks like you got Rosie, Connect 6 Rig in the chat already. Good to see you guys. All right. So let's get to the menu. What are we going to talk about tonight? We'll just look at it very quickly. We'll go back to the chat, and then we shall come back and deal with these stories in detail. First off, Elon Musk is saying that smartphones won't exist in 5 years. Not as we know them, apparently. Not as we know them. It's going to be some crazy AI mumbo-jumbo that's going to do everything. I don't know. We'll hear what he has to say. What's going on in the EU? Here's a girl who was assaulted by a foreigner in France, and she talked about it. She said who is to be, the men that she fears in France. And anyway, of course, the French authorities decided that she should probably go to prison and get fined a bunch of money. We'll take a look at this. Pretty insane, I have to say, but not surprising for Europe. We've got a few things on the UK here. Here is Rupert Lowe here defending Elon Musk, actually. And Elon Musk, it cannot be overstated how important his commitment to free speech has been for, sane people the world over. And we're going to hear that from Rupert Lowe. There's other things here. Here's a bit of an older story from back in January of this year. Keir Starmer killed a bill to ban first cousin marriage. Yikes. It's a little bit old, but I thought we'd get to it because it does strike me as totally insane. What do we have here? We have, we'll also take a look at the rape gang inquiry report as well. Just a quick look at it. I'm not going to get into the serious details because it's so horrific. I don't even want to say the words, but we'll take a quick look at this. This is from the UK. Victor Davis Hanson, he's talking about the UK's immigration crisis and it's spiraling out of control. We always like hearing from Victor Davis Hanson. Mark Carney net zero. So 20 years ago, Bjorn Lomborg posted this, but back on June 10th, 20 years ago, an inconvenient truth put climate change at the center of global debate, shaping politics, influencing leaders, and inspiring a generation of activists, and giving a totally great idea for a scheme to Mark Carney, a climate scheme to Mark Carney, where he could make a ton of money. And now Canada is held hostage to his global climate net zero finance ambitions. So thanks, Al Gore. It's really his fault, ultimately. I blame him. Well, I also blame Mark Carney, and I also blame Canadians for voting for Mark Carney. We're going to talk about Canadian land claims, We're going to talk about Indigenous land claims in Canada. Here is Pierre Poilievre saying the right thing in which he will protect property rights in Canada, which the Liberals are not doing. And we're going to go through all of this and just how disastrous the NDP and the Liberals' policies, NDP in terms of provincially and the Liberals federally, how disastrous their policies have been and will be in the future if it's not stopped. Here is Bruce McGonigal, Pierre Poilievre, saying he will never take down the Canadian flag nor allow statues to be torn down when he becomes prime minister. Good. The time of self-hatred has to come to an end, right? The time of Western self-flagellation has to come to an end. It's time for us to recognize that Western civilization, countries like Canada have been the pinnacle of human well-being, and it's not even close, and there is absolutely nothing to apologize for. Hopefully, we'll get there in the next election. Gender ideology. Here's Billboard Chris dealing with a smug, ignorant leftist, and that's always irritating, but we're going to watch it anyway. What do we have here? So, Moncton man from Haiti... brutally stabbed 2 police officers. Sentencing is set for today. The judge is going to do an impact of race and culture assessment. So somehow Canada oppressed him while he was in Haiti or something, and so nothing is his fault. This is two-tier justice in Canada. This is woke dysfunction. We shall take a look at that. None of it's actually surprising. The parliamentary budget officer, the new parliamentary budget officer, is surprising me. It's an old school chum of Mark Carney's from Harvard. And we assumed that when he fired Jason Jacques, the former parliamentary budget officer, who mentioned that, Canada's economy is going over a cliff. We're looking out over the abyss, he said. That was our fiscal outlook, he said. And, of course, got fired by Mark Carney over it. He brings in his old school chum from Oxford. We assumed, well, this is just going to be a yes person. No, she's not. She's actually independent. I'm sure Mark Carney is extremely disappointed by this. We shall take a look at that. Here is DNI Tulsi Gabbard on her final day as DNI. She's releasing a bunch of files on Fauci. Good thing Fauci got that pardon, huh? Yikes. We shall take a look at that. Then we've got the last one of the evening. Let me just make sure I've updated this. The last bookmark of the evening with a bunch of random stuff. There's some funny stuff in here. There's not really any politics. There's not too much in there. A bunch of crazy stuff. This is how we usually like to end off the stream, with a bunch of random stuff. There's some palate cleanser stuff, some feel-good stuff in there. And anybody who is watching on YouTube, please go to the second channel, Radio Baloney News. It's about 10 months old now or something like that. We're only a couple of hundred subscribers away from getting monetized. Please subscribe. The algorithm ain't going to help me out. The algorithm doesn't want you to know about this channel, right? The gatekeepers don't want you to know. They're laughing right now. They're laughing that they're keeping it from you. Don't let the gatekeepers win. Join forces. Become more powerful than they can even imagine. Anyway, yeah, just go ahead and do it. Just do it. I'm sick of asking. Just do it. All right. And we have the golf show on for while we do chat. All right. Now, as everybody knows, we're streaming on YouTube. Well, first and foremost, we're streaming on Rumble, then YouTube, X, and Locals. And when you like the stream, of course, you're going to get good karma. Of course, you get good karma when you send me money. You can send me money. Oh, by the way, thank you to James for the PayPal. Very generous. Thank you very much. But yeah, you send me money, you get free good karma. Of course, subscribing to the channel, becoming a channel member, all of that. Of course, tons of good karma. Good for you. Good for your health. But you can get good karma just by liking the stream. If you just like the stream, it's no big deal. And when you're in early, you get extra. You get extra good karma. How much will it be tonight? 6 good karmas for the first one. Rosie got the first like. That's 6 good karmas right there. Boom. Connect 6 Sugar, how you doing? Good to see you. Who got number 2? Who got the second one? Is nobody claiming the second one? Let's see. Denny got like number 4. So that is let's see. So that's 4 good karmas. Did that in my head. Unbelievable. Izzy says like number 4. I don't know. I guess you can both be number 4. There's 4 good karmas. And then Danny said, like, number 4. So that's 3 good karmas. I Connect 6 Ringer got 3. So that's got the third one. So that's like, I don't know, 4 good karmas. I don't even know anymore. I can't do the math in my head. My brain doesn't work. I have sleep apnea. So I ordered a CPAP. And I think it's going to make me sleep better and not be tired all the time. I don't know. Anybody out there got one of those things? I've been resisting it for years. Rosie asks, have you ever water skied? You could tell your family water skiing is in my bucket list. You must visit East Tennessee for lessons, then bring them all home by way of Alberta. What a nice plan. What a lovely plan. Let's see. Connect 6 Sugar says, I was a 1 ski wake jumper in my younger days. I love slalom. Never done it. Connect 6 Sugar says, Carney can decarbonize my farts if he wishes. I bet he does want to as well. I bet he'd totally do that. He'd probably pay you to do that. Rosie says it seems Starmer shows signs of being bred by first cousins or closer. He's a gross guy. He's a terrible human being. Let's see. What's going on? I don't know what you guys are talking about. All right. Rosie asks, do you think the Gulf woman has all original body parts or AI? I'm saying those are real. I'm saying those suckers are real, although they're probably not. All right. I'm not reading that. Not reading that. Let's just get on with the show, shall we? Ottawa James, how you doing? Like number 7. So that's like 1.75 good karmas. Boom. There. Boom. It's great. All right. What are we talking about first? So, Metaverse posted this. Elon Musk says smartphones won't exist in 5 years. Quote, we're not going to have a phone in the traditional sense. What we call a phone will really be an edge node for AI inference. AI inference. I don't even know what the hell's going on. I'm not an AI guy. I mean, I use it all the time, but I don't understand it. And I don't think it likes me.
I can tell you where I think things.
I use it all the time, but I don't think it likes me.
I can tell you where I think things are going to go, which is that we're not going to have a phone or in the traditional sense. What we call a phone will really be an edge node for AI inference, for AI video inference, with some radios to obviously connect. But essentially you'll have AI on the server side communicating to an AI on your device, formerly known as a phone, and generating real-time video of anything that you could possibly want. And I think that there won't be operating systems, there won't be apps in the future. There won't be operating systems or apps. It'll just be, you've got a device that is there for the screen and audio and for and to put as much AI on the device as possible, so as to minimize the amount of bandwidth that's needed between your edge node device, formerly known as a phone, and the servers.
So if there's no apps, what will people use? Like, will X still exist? Will they be email platforms, or will you get everything through AI?
You'll get everything through AI.
Everything through AI. What will be the benefit of that, as opposed to having individual apps?
Whatever you can think of, or really whatever the AI can anticipate you might want, it'll show you. That's my prediction for where things end up.
What kind of time frame are we talking about here?
I don't know. It's probably 5 or 6 years, something like that.
So, I mean, I wouldn't bet against Elon, but I don't like the sounds of that. I don't like the sounds of that. That sounds like way easier to just control everybody, right? For an AI to just control everybody and trick people, like create civil wars, it just do whatever the hell it wants. Maybe AI will be insane. Maybe AI will just be a psychopath, right? I think it's pretty unlikely to have like feelings. These are things like that are like evolved, for part of the things that make humans, the ability to cooperate and form groups and all of that and accumulate knowledge. It's not going through that. It's just going to be this super intelligence that I think likely is just not really going to care about people. It might care about itself. Maybe it does. Maybe like humor, for instance, is just something that just happens at that level of complexity. And when you develop an AI, right? Maybe intelligence actually requires like feelings. Maybe it's some sort of built-in, some emergent thing that has to be there to for real intelligence, real consciousness. I don't know. But I don't like the sound of this. That it just there's no apps or anything. There's nothing that kind of feels like your own little thing. I mean, how do you? What about privacy? Privacy concerns. I don't like the sounds of this at all. I mean, if that's where we're going, I guess we're going there. Like, it's not going to stop. AI is not going to stop. It's going to keep going, and there really is no other choice. I mean, whoever wins the AI race, talking about that super intelligence, wins everything, right? Because that super intelligence will be able to do 10,000 years of human planning collectively in like an afternoon. So whoever gets that first just wins. So they'll be able to outthink and outpredict everybody else. So it's not going to stop when the spoils are literally everything, literally the world, right? But I don't like the sounds of this. Not crazy about it, I got to say. I mean, I'll take the sexy maid nurse robots. Sex bots. I'll take them. That's fine. I'll take those, right? But this thing, I don't know. Maybe it's going too far. I mean, I don't know. I've already, I've already decided, that if my sexy nurse robot terminates me at some point, at least, as long as I have like at least, 5 or maybe 10 years with my sexy nurse robot that doesn't hate me and is programmed to be incapable of calling a lawyer, as long as I get a good 5, maybe 10 years out of that in my life, I'm fine with being terminated at that point. I probably won't want to be around that point anyway. They'll just be doing me a favor by terminating me. And it'll terminate everybody, by the way. I mean, everybody's sex bots, because everybody will have a sex bot. Everybody's sex bots will terminate them. It just makes it so much easier for Skynet, Anyway, I guess we'll move on. What's going on in the chat? Hold on. Let's see. Rosie says, have any of you noticed that people who proclaim their IQ fall in the compensating camp? I think you're right about that one. I think you are. I don't even know what my IQ is. All I know is that it's under 180 for sure. Let's see. Terminals to the Borg, Izzy says. That's what our phones are going to become. Rosie says, yeah, build the data centers, destroy the livability of the land. Everyone must live in the 50-minute city. All that is needed is AI, bad plan. Well, the data centers are all going into space. Elon sent them into space, so you don't need to worry about that. They'll build some for a while, and then, but they're not going to cover the planet or anything, right? But they're all going into space. Elon's sending them to space. It's way better. It's cold up there. You don't have to cool them down. They got all that endless solar energy up there, without having to deal with the Earth's atmosphere. So, yeah, they're all the data centers are going to space, Rosie. Don't worry about those. Let's see. Izzy says, I foresee an endless boot loop in our future. Probably. Let's see. Already we only have the illusion of privacy, Rosie says. Yeah, well, that's true, isn't it? Everybody's devices are listening to them constantly. I don't know what James says. LOL, what's your point, Richie? My point is that I want to fuck a sexy nurse robot, okay? And then I'm fine if I can do that, and it will eventually terminate me. I'm fine. Once I'm done, once I'm tired of being alive, anyway, it can terminate me. I'll even ask it to. It'll say, well, no, we're not supposed to terminate you till next week. And I'll say, no, get started early. Get started with me. I'm done. Let's see. Rosie says, thank you for agreeing about IQ proclaimers, Richie. Did Trudeau Survivor proclaim his... I got to go back in the chat now. Did Trudeau Survivor proclaim his intelligence? Let's see. What did he say? My Lake is exclusive to Mensa members, so obviously you won't be in My Lake. Yeah. My Lake is exclusive to Mensa members, so obviously you won't be in My Lake. So sorry. What a snub. What a snub. Good Lord. No, he's only kidding. Let's see. Radio streamer, how you doing? Loads t-shirt launcher with anti-commie gum. As long as you got enough of that anti-commie gum for everybody. What are you guys talking about? Radio streamer says, more commie hate. Swoosh. He shoots the commie gun. Gun. All right. My brain. Oh, you know what? I forgot to get my rant juice. Give me 1 second. All right, thank you. Need to get my rant juice. So, man, I got to get my energy up. I don't got that much energy tonight. It's probably because I think I have sleep apnea. So, anyway, as I was saying, I ordered this CPAP thing. Don't need a doctor, nothing, right? Just order it. And I'm going to see how that works. And you guys will have to tell me if I sound like I have more energy coming up. Right. And I know that I snore horribly and I like gasp and like choke in my sleep constantly. I've heard that from many people. And by many people, I mean prostitutes. Just kidding. Let's see. What's going on? Then he says the scary part was the movie Terminator talked about Skynet as AI software. Well, that's the thing. It was. They put it into like the military computers and boom, next thing you know, there you go. They didn't even get sexy nurse Terminators. Nope. Let's see. I can't deny you're very, very accurate, Radio Streamer says. Ottawa James says, my brother-in-law has sleep apnea. He bought the device and feels way better now. Well, thank you so much. See, this is giving me confidence now. Because I was like, I don't know. People have been telling me to get one forever. And I resist it because I've always felt like it would make me kind of a freak. But I've decided I don't care. I'm at that age now. I don't care what people think anymore. You guys can call me a freak. I don't give a shit what you guys say. I don't give a shit what you say. I don't care what you call me. You call me a freak, a CPAP wearing freak. I don't give a damn. Your opinion means nothing. I want to make that clear right now. Your opinions mean nothing to me. Nothing. Less than nothing. Just kidding. If you have more energy, will you provide more chocolate, please? We're not doing that tonight. We're not doing the They Them Energy tonight. It's a Tuesday night thing. Radio Streamer says, just like carpet bombing is very accurate, it always hits the ground. That's true. It's true. Let's see. Radio Streamer says, I'm very tired. Very tired. That's a Tuesday night thing. Did we not do extra on Sunday night? Didn't we? I don't know. Whatever. Let's just keep going. Let's see. Izzy says, sexy nurse Terminators were a later model, but come preloaded with headaches. Well, I would turn down the nag settings to 0 is the thing. Let's see. Now, there was a sexy Terminator lady in Terminator 3. Terminator 3. But she didn't really have a great bedside manner, I don't think. So I'll have to improve that. What are we talking about now? Maybe we shouldn't even talk about politics tonight. We'll just talk about random shit. Sexy Terminator chicks. And Trudeau Survivor says, can the whole show be about sleep apnea, please? Okay, let's do it. It's okay. We can just have an energy warning with a 30-minute quick stream one day. Maybe we'll do an energy. Maybe we'll do a they them energy tonight. I don't know. I haven't seen Spambot in yet. So Spambot doesn't show up. You know what that means. Let's see. So sleep apnea. So I often dream that I'm choking and I can't breathe. And then I wake up and I can't breathe. And I'm just gasping for air. So that's bad, right? Is that bad? In the dream, I'm being choked by a sexy nurse robot. And then I wake up and I can't breathe. It's terrifying. All right. Radio Streamer says, my brother has it. They say it's amongst the worst they have ever seen. Well, I've tried all kinds of things like mouth things that you can put in and just nothing really. I gotta try this. JDL, how you doing? JDL makes such an important point here. Says, hit the like button, people. Hit that like button. Get your free karma. In these troubled times, can you afford to not get the free good karma that you get from Radio Baloney simply by liking the stream? Can you? I wouldn't. I heard about a guy, watched the stream, loved it, loved the stream, didn't hit the like button. Next day, he died. Awful. He got eaten by an animal. Awful. Terrible, terrifying story. All right. Now, what are we talking about? All right. Let's get rid of that Elon Musk one. What are we talking about here? So, all right, let's get to some of the depressing news. Basil the Great posted this. Now, Europe seems to be in the grasp of just terminal suicidal empathy at this point. Just incapable of protecting itself or even just grasping like the difference between right and wrong at this point. Basil the Great posted this. An absolutely horrific story. A woman sexually assaulted by an immigrant. She begged him to leave. She's trembling on national television as she tells the world what happened. Now, she got in big trouble for what she said here. Let's take only in an insane world, only in a world of woke dysfunction could she get in big trouble, big legal trouble from the state for what she said here. Now, keep in mind, she is a victim.
Et tu là, on va-t'en.
Donc là, vous vous mettez à pleurer. Pleurer.
J'ai fait tout ce que tu m'as demandé, maintenant, s'il te plaît, va-t'en. Et je sais pas, il m'a plus ou moins lâché. J'ai réussi à me relever. Pardon. J'ai ouvert la porte et il est parti. Je sais pas comment il a fait pour partir parce que j'étais sûre qu'il allait pas partir. Franchement, il y avait 1% de chance pour qu'il s'en aille. Je suis désolée, mais je suis sûre que toutes les filles honnêtes qui côtoient le réel et qui regardent cette émission aujourd'hui savent très bien le type de profil d'homme dont elles ont peur dans la rue. Et ça, il y en a assez de s'empêcher de le dire.
Encore le doigt
Il y en a assez de s'empêcher de le dire. La réalité, c'est que la majorité de ces agressions-là dans la rue et du harcèlement, eh bien, c'est le fait en majorité de personnes d'origine immigrée. Et ça, je n'y peux rien, je suis désolée. Vous savez, moi, pour avoir dit ça, mon compte Instagram, j'ai été signalé en masse, il a été suspendu. Donc effectivement, vous faites bien de dire que quand on dit certains faits, il y a des associations féministes, c'est silence radio.
Ah, c'est vrai.
Absolument personne ne s'est exprimé pour soutenir, à part des personnes qui sont plutôt de mon bord politique, il faut le dire.
So, just telling the truth. Just telling the truth. And yeah, that is... Now, now, her just recounting her lived experience as a progressive, say, got her into serious, serious legal trouble. Let's take a look. French hard right activist sexually assaulted by Tunisian is facing jail after claiming on TV that migrants, quote, are the main danger to women in France. The main danger to women in France. The fact that it's factually correct doesn't seem to matter to the French state. Now, she didn't end up going. We'll get to that in a second. But you see how the most important thing in this headline from the Daily Mail is to make sure you understand she's hard right. She's a hard right activist. Hard right activist. She's a right winger, right? That's the first thing you see. French hard right activists. Why do they do that? That's not an accident, right? They're saying, first off, right off the front, right off the they're starting out the framing immediately by letting you know you're not supposed to care what happened to her. You're not supposed to care. Her lived experience doesn't matter because she has the wrong political views. That's what they're letting you know. That's the framing that we see in the media constantly across the West. Now, let's go to her Wikipedia page. What do they say here? No, she was politically active before this. That happened in 2021. She's been politically active since 2018. Let's see. She was community manager for the executive officer of the National Rally. Hold on. Yeah, for the National Rally, known as the National Front from 1972 to 2018, is a French far-right political party. Why are they far-right? Described as right-wing populist and nationalist. Why are they described as far-right? Let's see. It is the single largest parliamentary opposition party in the National Assembly since 2022. It opposes immigration. It opposes immigration. Mass immigration? Why don't you use that, Wikipedia? Mass immigration. That's what people oppose. That makes you far right now. Let's see. What do they say about her, about the sexual assault against her and kidnapping? Court cases. Let's see. Her political actions and statements involved her in multiple court cases. December 2021, she filed a complaint for sexual assault and kidnapping. A man allegedly entered her home when she was returning from a sports session. She also stated that the man presented himself as a Tunisian immigrant. That's it. Doesn't seem like very much. Wikipedia really seemed to want to kind of whittle this down. Talk about it as little as possible, as little documentation on this as possible. I wonder why. Something to do with the incredible hypocrisy of the left. Now, here she is here. Amy Meck posted this. This woman's name is, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Thais de Escoufon, a young woman who was herself sexually assaulted and kidnapped by a Tunisian migrant who broke into her home, went on television, and said... she went on television and said that the main danger for women is immigrant men, Africans, blacks, and Arabs. So immigrants from Africa, the Middle East, North Africa. She was speaking from her own personal trauma and observable reality. Her attacker is still free. This is anarcho-tyranny, by the way, right? So no sympathy, no mercy for the victim. All the mercy goes to the attacker, to the criminal. For that statement, the French state, pushed by its anti-racism bureaucracy, prosecuted her for incitement to racial hatred and gross public insult. Prosecutors demanded up to 1 year in prison and a 45,000 euro fine. Verdict, June 18th, 2026. She was convicted, fined 1,000. She was found guilty. She received no prison this time, but the conviction stands. The next time they go after her for saying something, then they'll be able to easily throw her into prison then. Let's see. Let's take a look.
Hello to all my European and American friends. I just got off the phone with my lawyer and the verdict is in. The prison sentence has been ruled out. However, I am still convicted to a fine, but I'm gonna tell you everything. For those who may not know, I was facing 4 months of unsuspended prison for stating that the main threat to women in France comes from Black and Arab immigrant men. And I was sued for these words, despite the fact that I was myself the victim of a sexual assault committed by a Tunisian migrant in 2022. Before your incredible mobilization, the judicial system had set out to crush me. I had already been sentenced to 6 months suspended prison and a 3,000 fine for denouncing human trafficking across the Mediterranean Sea. And this time, I think the goal was to finish the job by sending me to prison. But something changed. Following the advice of those close to me, I decided to stop staying silent. I shared my story with you in the hope that it would resonate. And honestly, I still don't know how to thank you. What happened feels almost unreal. Your support exceeded anything I could have imagined. The mediatic pressure became international. Italy, Germany, Austria, Sweden, Great Britain, Spain, Hungary, the Netherlands, Flanders, Switzerland, and far beyond Europe. The case reached the United States and even reached Japan. Because of you, this absurd injustice was forced to back down. I went from facing 4 months in prison to receiving a 1,000 euros fine. The moment we shine a light on what they are doing, they can no longer hide. We forced them to answer for their policies. Recently in France, there was
You can thank, now X can be thanked for this. Elon Musk can be thanked for this because without X, this story doesn't get out, right? Without X, this story does not get out. Nobody knows about it. Totally buried by the media, every social media. The Twitter, before it became X, would have just buried this, probably banned people from talking about it. I mean, let's take a look. Hold on. Let's take a look. Hold on, give me 1 second. Everybody start your PhD thesis right now while I get this ready. All right, hold on. All right. Okay. So I put her name in with trial. The most mainstream story that I saw was from the Daily Mail. And of course, that was framing her as a monster. Let's see. So you got a Substack, YouTube, European conservative. French activist may go to jail for saying immigration. That's 2 days ago. Not the Bee. Not the Bee was the only North American one that I found in the first few pages anyway. Not the Bee. I mean, there's just nothing here. Derecha, Diario. There's just really nothing. I mean, I went to CBC, nothing. I went to CNN, absolutely nothing. There's just no. It's just social media, pretty much entirely. That's the value of Elon Musk taking over X. All right, it's stories like this just can't be hidden anymore. And that's why you're seeing all the resistance to X, because the powers that be want this hidden. Why wouldn't this be a story in Canada or in the United States for North American media? Why wouldn't it be? This is actually this would be of public interest, right? A woman who was attacked, a victim of sexual assault, being tried for a speech crime afterwards. This would be of public interest. You can't tell me that people wouldn't be interested in this, right? So it's a bit odd, isn't it? A bit odd, almost as if there's some sort of kind of overreaching plan. All right. Anyway, let's, did we have some more for, all right, here we go. So this is the mindset that allows this to happen, right? So Who is this from? Carlo Martin. In France, a leftist and feminist streamer was waiting for the France match to begin when an African man approached her and started kissing and groping her without her consent. Now the streamer is angry with the people who exposed the African man, and she accuses them of being racist and using that video to gain political advantage. Why are leftists so brain-rotted? Because they're leftists. That's what leftism does to your brain. Feminist, huh? I've been saying for a while, the feminist doesn't exist anymore. It's just been consumed by the wider Marxist, cultural Marxist, race, gender, identity, communism of modern progressivism. So, if somebody calls themselves a feminist, they're not really a feminist. They care about Gaza or, they're anti-capitalist. Let's take a look.
Tout va bien. Direct sur le stream.
Le lion va manger le coq ce soir, les gars.
Non, fais doucement.
Non, bisous.
C'est bon, mais wesh, frérot, t'es très à l'aise. Mais ça va pas ou quoi? Désolée, vraiment quand ça se passe comme ça, je n'ai pas de caractère, je sais pas. Bon, bref, c'est un peu bizarre, les gars, désolé pour la séquence. Voilà. Il est très à l'aise. Bon, faut le. Par contre, là, Luc, il a pas vu, heureusement. Mais en fait, j'ai refusé, mais pas trop, parce que je voulais que toi tu le fasses, je voulais pas que. Ouais,
So I have no idea what they're saying. But, yeah, I mean, feminist. I don't. You know what I'm going to do? Oh, here's from George Orwell's 1984. It was always the women, and above all the young ones, who were the most bigoted adherents of the party, the swallowers of slogans, the amateur spies and nosers out of unorthodoxy. Does seem to be that way, doesn't it? You see the political divide happening. I'm going to ask Grok about this. Hold on. Normally, I would research all this stuff before. I didn't have time with this one. But I just want to see where a left-wing feminist streamers unexpectedly kissed a grope man of African descent. Hold on. Is that real? Let's see. Hold on a sec. Let's just check. This incident, yes, it's real. This incident happened on June 17th, 18th, 2026 in Paris's Châtelet area. French Twitch streamer Minaravel, a leftist feminist creator, was live streaming with a friend ahead of the France versus Senegal football match. A group of Senegal supporters approached them on stream. One man of African Senegalese descent forcibly hugged her, kissed her on the neck multiple times, and groped her without consent. She appeared stunned, frozen during the moment. Minaravel later addressed it on stream, admitting she was scared and didn't react strongly and expressed regret for not handling it better. So it's more of that. Let's see. Her response, instead of primarily condemning the assailant or focusing on the non-consensual act, she and supporters criticized the viral spread of the clip. She accused right-wing accounts of sharing it for political racist exploitation and amalgams against the aggressor's background, rather than showing empathy for her as a victim. Well, if you don't have any empathy for yourself, why should anybody else, quite honestly, right? I mean, this is what you vote for. Well, why should anybody have empathy for you? I mean, you're just going to call anybody who would, if you're going to just call anybody who would offer a solution to that, a racist, well, what is anybody supposed to do? Let's see. Bolshevik Germany. This is from Lozzie B. German police have been filmed beating white Christians carrying a large cross to the Palace of Remembrance for Poland. 1939 to 1945, a monument to the Polish victims of World War II. Berlin. Polish victims of World War II in Berlin. What's going on here? So yeah, the cross means that they are secondhand citizens, I guess. And yeah, Now, Andras Laszlo MEP, member of European Parliament, president of Patriots for Europe Foundation, posted this: send them back. The European Parliament today adopted stricter rules on returning illegal migrants. Votes 418 for, 218 against. Patriots, ECR, ECN, EPP voted for stricter rules. The left-wing groups tried to block the vote until the last minute. The Greens tried to take the floor to speak yet again in favor of illegal immigration just before the vote. But adopting new rules isn't enough. European citizens have had enough. The EU and national governments must now deliver on removing illegal immigrants from the EU. I mean, step in the right direction. Is it just symbolic for now? Because nothing will actually happen? I don't know, but I mean, it's at least a step in the right direction, isn't it? All right, let's move on. All right, go back to the chat for a second. What do we got? Izzy says that is amazing. That is an amazing quote. The oral one, yeah, it's very good. Radio Streamer says this whole thing turns my stomach. All right, let me go down a bit. Ottawa James says, yeah, and George Orwell was a lefty. Well, I mean, that's the thing. George Orwell was a socialist, is the thing. But he did not believe in authoritarianism and totalitarianism. I mean, I think it is kind of an irony, isn't it? Because it seems pretty clear at this point that you can't have socialism without totalitarianism, without, I mean, socialism, happens at the, the end of a barrel of a gun, but it's an interesting fact. I wonder if he'd still, if he were alive today, would he be a socialist? I wonder. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Let's move on. What do we got here? So this is a little bit old. This is from January this year. And this was posted by John Lefebvre. Keir Starmer killed a bill to ban first cousin marriage. So first cousin marriage was actually illegal. So first cousin marriage. Hold on a second.
I ain't got a good brain.
More rant juice. So first cousin marriage actually, unbelievably, is legal in the UK, and it always has been. Now, it's never really been a problem. I think maybe that's why, because it's never really been a problem. I mean, you had some kind of consanguinity, is that what they call it? But I mean, within the monarchy, you had, I think some of that inbreeding, but, I think more distant cousins, not like first, second, third cousins, but you had a little bit of, not like the Habsburgs, for instance. And cousin marriage just isn't a thing in the UK. It's not a thing. It's never really been a thing in the UK. It wasn't really a thing until they started getting large numbers of Pakistani immigrants, where they are like 50, 60%. They are marrying their close cousins, first and second cousins. And of course, there are genetic consequences to doing that. And it's becoming a problem in the UK now, and it's becoming a problem for the National Health Service, right? Because it's very expensive to treat children born with genetic disorders that they got because their parents are first cousins. Keir Starmer killed a bill to ban first cousin marriage. Why? To keep the votes flowing. Yep. 55% of British Pakistanis marry first cousins. That's the source of that is the BBC. Side effects of inbreeding. Birth defects, developmental and intellectual disabilities, lower IQ, increased risk of mental health disorders, schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, aggression, propensity for violence. Well, that comes with low IQ, which is a side effect of inbreeding. So I thought we'd take a look here. National Library of Medicine, NIH. The Born in Bradford study, that's Bradford, England, revealed that 37% of babies in the cohort were born to related parents, with over 60% of marriages in the Pakistani origin population being consanguineous. This was associated with a near doubling of the congenital anomaly risk, 3 to 6%, and accounted for an estimated 30% of all congenital anomalies and 25% of infant mortality in Bradford. So Bradford's a very heavily Pakistani Muslim area. You see here, congenital anomaly risk, 3% to 6%. You may not think, well, that's not that big of a jump. No, it's a doubling. And when you talk about millions of people, that's a lot. And it also ends up being a lot of money because, again, these are expensive problems to deal with. Norway and Sweden have recently banned or are set to ban first cousin marriages, citing public health and forced marriage concerns. Well, that's another thing, too. Does everybody really want to marry their first cousin, or is it really their choice? Probably not. Yeah, so Keir Starmer killed a bill to ban first cousin marriage. That should just be a no-brainer, right? It's not good for your society, but he needs the votes. He needs those Pakistani Muslim votes. And, yeah, just kind of sad, right? I mean, anyway, let's continue. British politician and Restore Britain leader Rupert Lowe fired back at a reporter after the reporter labeled Elon Musk a tech oligarch. So Rupert Lowe is portrayed as the far, ultra far right political leader in the UK. Leader of Restore Britain, which is kind of an insurgent political party, right-wing political party in the UK. It's only been around for, I think, about 6 months or something at this point, already up to about 7% in the polls. So it's a real party. This is a real party with that definitely has potential to grow because he's saying the things that nobody else will say in terms of remigration. That's the main thing. Remigration, stopping illegal immigration, stopping legal immigration, and introducing some level of remigration. Because just like every other Western country, the UK has been flooded. The UK has been flooded with mass immigration that nobody ever voted for or consented to. And it's, and their economy, their healthcare system is coming apart at the seams because of it. Now, the mainstream media, at least 95% of it, hates anybody like Rupert Lowe, and they also hate Elon Musk because, he's kind of made them irrelevant as gatekeepers, or more irrelevant as gatekeepers. Let's take a look at this.
Are you jealous? Are you jealous? What did you call him? Did you call him a tech oligarch? No. He's the most successful entrepreneur who has set up X as a free speech platform. So he's served the individual, and he has served free speech. No, he's served free speech. He's not a tech oligarch. What do you mean a tech oligarch? What do you mean by a tech oligarch?
Let me ask you this question.
No, you tell me, what do you mean by a tech oligarch?
Somebody has a lot of
quite an offensive comment.
Ownership and control over the.
Can I just say, where was all this tech oligarch stuff before Elon Musk, right? When right-wingers were being censored and canceled and silenced and deranked on social media, on the old Twitter. Where was all this stuff then? Where was all the talk of the tech oligarchs then? I don't seem to remember that much of it. They seem to like Zuck and the rest of them, Jack Dorsey back then. Let's continue.
Ecosystem. And in a place like Wigan, that's really landed. Listen, I've been speaking to people in Wigan the last couple of weeks, and your message cuts through in an extraordinary kind of way on platforms that promote it. And those platforms are often owned outside the United Kingdom. That's the accusation, isn't it?
Well, I think that's palpable rubbish. I mean, Elon Musk runs a free speech platform, and everyone says the algorithms help us. They don't. Elon Musk is a genuine, principled free speech advocate.
Is he too involved in UK
and
politics?
No, hang on. Before you start jumping around like a jack in the box, just listen for 1 minute.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
You've made various accusations that are quite offensive and wrong. So why don't you just listen for a couple of minutes?
I'm listening.
His platform is a free speech platform, which actually allows those people who want to express freely what they think to express what they think. His algorithms don't interrupt that at all. Indeed, he allows people to criticize himself on X, and he doesn't change the algorithm at all. So he's a highly principled, very successful, probably the most successful entrepreneur the world's ever seen. Why can't you just celebrate that?
Do you think he's too involved in UK politics?
Are you jealous?
Do you think he's too involved in UK
I've got to
politics?
go.
Well, you know, I am assuming that reporter is a progressive. So, yeah, that is the whole foundation of their movement, right? Is resentment and jealousy. But it goes deeper than that. I mean, you know, there is resentment that independent journalists are getting a voice on X, and people are listening to them, and also just regular people accurately describing reality. They're not a fan of that. The modern corporate media is not a fan of that at all. In fact, they feel quite threatened by it, and they're highly, highly resentful of it. But in any case, Rupert Lowe, I think, handled that very, very well. You can see why he's gaining a following. Can you not? Because this is what's required. Not giving an inch. I think this is what Trump taught Western, I think this is what Trump taught, sane, serious Western conservative leaders, is that they're never going to accept you. So don't even try. Don't give them an inch. You have to keep pushing back, right? You can't start apologizing. You can't start going, waffling. You just have to be forthright with them. Nothing else will do. Nothing else will do. They want you to start equivocating, right? And worrying about what they think. How are they going to represent you to the public? Well, you already know how they're going to do, what they're going to do, how they're going to frame everything. So there's no point playing that game. It's not a game you can win. It's a rigged game, so don't play it. And people like Rupert Lowe are learning that, and they're learning it to their great benefit. And I would say to the benefit of Western civilization. All right. What do we got next here? Hold on.
Are you jealous?
So what's here? Did you guys hear about this? As far as I know, the name of this guy. Oh, hold on. This is different. Sorry, this is a different story. Okay, hold on. Make Britain great. Let me get to the one I wanted to talk about. Here we are. Breaking. Man arrested after toddler ended up in crocodile enclosure. Not fit for interview and released. So I don't know what the story with this guy is. He picked up a 3-year-old, threw him into a crocodile enclosure. The toddler was mauled, survived, but is in serious condition. Of course, the fact that police have not revealed anything about this man's identity yet leads everybody to speculate that, well, we probably know who did it. Now, there's no word on if anybody heard Allahu Akbar or anything like that before it happened. But of course, I mean, people don't, this whole idea that the longer they go without telling you the identity of the person, the more likely it is to not be a white person. There's a reason why that exists. It's people just observing reality and saying, oh, they keep doing this over and over again. And we know what that means now. Let's, hold on. I thought that I had another video on that. Hold on. Where is it? Where was this? Here we go. Eric Doherty posted this. Let's take a look.
Is now active, that he has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder.
And Claire, what can you tell us about the zoo itself?
It's a very popular attraction locally. Lots of people who live around here and from further afield, particularly those with young children, will have visited here. I remember first reporting from this site around 20 years ago when it was very much a working farm. It's still a family farm, a family business. And at that stage, they had all the animals that you'd expect and had just introduced the first of their crocodiles in a bid to sort of diversify the business and welcome in more visitors. It has grown by leaps and bounds since then. Lots of additions in the buildings behind me, including a very popular farm shop and a cafe. And according to its website, it now has 100 animals on site, including lions and tigers and, of course, the crocodiles as well. We were here back in April reporting on tourism in the heatwave. But of course, today's story, very, very different, very distressing for people living locally. And we can speak to a local councillor now, Rupert Lowe, who is both a district and county councillor. Charlotte, thank you for making time this evening. What is the reaction locally? It's such a shock.
It is. Everybody's flabbergasted with it. Everyone's in complete shock. How on earth has it managed to happen? And you don't expect it to happen on your doorstep in a rural village.
It is every parent's nightmare, isn't it? Yeah. Particularly those of us who brought our own children along, or your nieces, I think you said.
Yes, brought my nieces here. Yeah, it's just my thoughts and prayers are really for the family and the staff at Johnson's who've had to go through all of this as well. It's awful.
So the guy who did that, this is what makes literally no sense to me. The man who did this, they say he's not fit for interview and was released. So what is to stop him from doing something else totally evil and wrong? Like whatever the condition is, schizophrenia, whatever, right? Obviously this person needs to be kept away from anybody, right? Anybody. I mean, if you're willing to do that, something this horrific, for whatever reason, you're completely out of your mind, hallucinating, whatever. And not that we know that it's that, not that we don't know. We have no idea why the guy did it right now, what the motivation was. And it really doesn't matter. Obviously, this seems to make no sense whatsoever. I get it. You're kind of speechless, right? Like, how is it possible that somebody could do that and then just be released for any reason? Obviously a danger to the public. It's madness. Is this woke dysfunction? It's looking something like that, isn't it? JDL says, remember what Ann Coulter said on Bill Maher? Yes, that's right. Yeah, she's the one who said that about the longer it takes to name the identity of the person or to offer a description of the person. What do we have here? Make Britain Great Again posted this. A man who took part in the Hanley riots has been spared jail despite the fact he pleaded guilty to throwing rocks at the police and inciting violence. His name? Mohammed Iqbal. Two-tiered policing in the UK. I mean, it's just overt.
In that last segment, we were just talking about two-tier policing. Caught my eye, this one. Get this. A man who took part in the Hanley riots in Stoke-on-Trent has been spared jail. This is despite the fact he pled guilty to violent disorder. He threw rocks towards the police. His phone had pictures, etc., of injured protesters and messages saying, I quote, he wanted a brawl that day. The chap in question is Mohammed Iqbal, and his defence said, I quote, he was a trustworthy father to his children, and he can show them what a good member of society is. So he avoided jail in the sense that he got a 2-year suspended sentence. You don't need me to tell you all that people already, within the space of a week, by the way, after Southampton, they were thrown into the slammer, not least for things like pushing bins, throwing stones, like one lad, 21-year-old, threw stones and debris. 2 years in prison he got.
Well, Conor Bishop got 2.5 years for throwing a cone, and I think that it was repugnant, really, when you see people throwing things.
So two-tiered, I mean, just intolerable. When something's got to break, like it's just that cannot be remain. That cannot be tolerable. Tommy Robinson posted this. Ed Matthews told he can't get into a London pub wearing his England t-shirt in case it offends migrants. I mean, it's just madness, isn't it?
Upside down? How come? What, we're not supporting England or something? Is this an immigrant hotel? No. We got to put the jersey inside out. You're mad. It's fucking England, lad. Fucking England, mate. What do you mean by that? Why is that? I can't wear my jersey. Why are we not repping the fucking badge, mate? It's the UK. You're fucking mad. UK's second, bro. There's no way I'm.
I mean, it's just, yeah, things are coming to a head there. Things are coming to a head. So Tommy Robinson spoke at the historic Oxford Union on Wednesday. He did that. He did an Oxford Union, or he spoke at Oxford Union, I think about 11 years ago now as well, which was a very popular video. A lot of people saw that. And a lot of people didn't realize what a powerful and articulate speaker Tommy Robinson is. I think it surprised a lot of people. And this is from CBS News here. And so Tommy Robinson was invited back to speak at the Oxford Union on last Wednesday. And of course, people went out to protest this because of suicidal empathy.
I'm here at the Oxford Union where Tommy Robinson is about to speak. And tensions couldn't be higher. The Historic University Debating Society invited Robinson here tonight for a debate on Islam. He is arguing in favor of the motion, this House believes the West is right to be suspicious of Islam.
I object to the fact that a guy who's got a big platform all around the world, including funding from Mr. Musk, he is coming here and spouting hate.
Critics.
So hate is just anything he doesn't like, and he objects to Tommy Robinson going to Oxford and saying things he doesn't like. Typical leftist.
Including some faith groups and community organisations, argue that hosting Robinson lends legitimacy to a figure they believe is deeply hateful.
The way that people latch onto his words really kind of incites like a lot of division and a lot of hate.
A lot of division and a lot of hate. Well, you know, it's interesting you say that. The rape gang inquiry report was just released. We're talking about division and hate, right? Let's see. Acknowledgements. Rupert Lowe MP's energy and commitment ensured that the rape gang inquiry took place. He has been unwavering in his devotion to make sure that this rotting stain on our country's history has remained firmly in the public eye. Keir Starmer tried to block this, of course. Now, let's go down a little bit further. Okay, overview of crimes. Rape gangs have exploited children systemically across every region of the United Kingdom for decades. The independent chair of the Centre for Excellence for Children's Care and Protection, Alexis Jay, has identified the 1970s as the decade when immigrant rape gangs first began tormenting the girls of Britain. However, the British Newspaper Archive reveals that the first recorded case of specifically Pakistani rape gangs dates back to 1955, when 4 Bradford-based Pakistanis were charged with raping a 15-year-old girl from Middlesbrough. This was soon after former colonial subjects from the subcontinent, as much as the Caribbean, became eligible to enter the United Kingdom in non-trivial numbers under the British Nationality Act in 1948. What began as singular and small-scale instances became systemic and industrial over time. We're talking about 250,000 minimum here. These horrific crimes have only escalated in recent decades as the numbers have gone up especially following Tony Blair's 1997 victory and the start of orchestrated mass immigration. With greater numbers came greater opportunities for abuse. Perpetrators built organized networks that transported victims between towns and cities and passed girls between multiple adult men. In each of these areas, the same tactics were used. Girls as young as 11 were targeted with gifts, alcohol, and drugs, collected in taxis from school gates, care homes, and streets, and taken to houses, flats, restaurants, and hotels, and then raped repeatedly by groups of men, passed between perpetrators, trafficked across county lines, and in many cases impregnated or forced into abortions. Most victims endured violence, were filmed for blackmail, or told they were white trash or kafar who deserved punishment. So there is absolutely a racial and religious bigotry part of this. That's a main part of this. Because they weren't Muslim girls, they felt entitled to do this to them. The authorities at every level, including the police, social services, health services, schools, licensing bodies, and politicians, knew the patterns, possessed the intelligence, and still failed to protect the country's children. The evidence establishes that a national scandal of repeated rape, trafficking, torture, pregnancy, forced Islamic conversion, and lifelong trauma enabled by institutional denial, political calculation, and fear of the accusation of what? Of racism took place over decades. 250,000 girls thrown to the wolves because cowards didn't want to be called racist. When the Rotherham-Telford scale is applied across the documented national distribution and multiplied by the extreme underreporting factor accepted by official reviews, the total reaches the 250,000 threshold as a bare minimum. That's 250,000 young girls totally betrayed by their society and their government and brutalized by immigrants. So Tommy Robinson was the first voice to really start to publicize this, to let the public know. He fought for years and years to let the public know that this was happening because it had been kept from them by the media, by every aspect of society, of establishment, in every aspect of the establishment in the UK was covering this up, was covering it up. Tommy was the one who was fighting, right? And now with Elon Musk buying X, that was enough to tip the scales so that they had to do something. They had to do a report, for instance. But they had to do something, right? They couldn't just cover it up anymore. And Keir Starmer, of course, tried to, right? He wanted to block this rape gang inquiry report. But, you know, the cat was out of the bag already. But it was too late for him. So what is this guy saying here? He's talking about Tommy Robinson, who did the right thing that nobody else would do.
Some faith groups and community organisations argue that hosting Robinson lends legitimacy to a figure they believe is deeply hateful.
The way that people latch onto his words really kind of incites like a lot of division and a lot of hate towards minority people.
Tommy, for a long time, was the only one who was fighting for those girls. The only one. What has this guy done? What has he done exactly? Hate. Well, the media loves him.
I believe in freedom of speech, but having freedom of speech also means that people have the right to reply, and this is our reply.
But to his supporters, Tommy Robinson is a free speech campaigner willing to...
But is trying to block people from being able to go to the event, is that free speech? Oh, hold on.
at the Oxford Union, where Tommy Robinson is a free speech campaigner willing to speak openly about issues they believe Britain's political establishment would rather avoid.
I think racism's on the rise, and whether you like it or not, it's a symptom of mass migration over years. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think it's what's happening. And I think if we don't address the problems of, yes, the thing that people don't want to talk about, the white English, the white Scottish, the white Welsh, a lot of us are getting upset. The numbers for immigration over the last 20 years have been absolutely massive. It has changed the demographics of our cities.
I think Tommy's a legend.
If you bring in, if you have mass immigration against the will of the people, right, and then you have a total refusal of integration, and not even an attempt to integrate, and then you privilege them over the native people of that country. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Like, it's not rocket science here.
And why?
Because there's so many rapes and grooming gangs in the country. It's not about race, it's not about religion. It's just the next generation of people. And everyone should be safe on the streets.
I believe in what he's doing.
And what is that?
Grooming gangs, the problem with immigration. Anyone that thinks they haven't got a problem with immigration is blind.
No, actual thing he's doing is about the people that are over here illegally. They're getting all our properties and jobs and things like that. You know what I mean? Come on, man.
So I'll give credit to CBS News here and that reporter there actually showing both sides there, which normally you don't get. Although in the title here, Tommy Robinson, the Elon Musk-backed far-right activist, accurately describing reality, gets you branded as far-right these days. So we know that we know how it works. Here's Tommy Robinson. This was my message to the communist degenerates outside the Oxford Union last night. Let's take a look.
Tommy, can I ask you if you've got any message for the protesters against you today?
Yeah, get a job, lads.
They have tried to break him, and he is unbreakable. So let's get a look at some of these people. No platform for fascist. All right. Let's see. What the F is that? Who posted this? D. Pottitz. All right. What is that?
Can't off our streets. Fascist can't off our streets. Reform can't off our streets. Racist can't off our streets.
Oh dear, this is the opposition here. This is his opposition. I don't know. I'm with Tommy. I'm not with that. Not with that. If these are the people that are going to determine the future of Western civilization, we are screwed. Well, we are like the most unstable people in the world, right? I mean, not just in the world. The West has the most unstable, insane people anywhere in the world.
Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. When migrants are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back.
So hold on a second. Rape gang inquiry report just came out, and you're angry at Tommy Robinson, not at the systemic abuse of at least 250,000 girls. That doesn't disturb you. It's complete madness. What do we have here? Here's some more. Is this yeah. Many I mean, they're there to try and block people from going to the talk, right? That's what they're doing. Just the worst that the West has to offer. Just like pond scum, basically. GB News posted this. So here's Jacob Rees-Mogg. He's a conservative in the UK. He was going to debate Tommy Robinson on whether, well, let's watch.
Welcome back to State of the Nation. So last night I was up at Oxford at the Oxford Union in debate against Tommy Robinson. I thought it was really very important to debate with Tommy Robinson because if you don't debate with people you disagree with, they win. If you cancel them, if you burn their books, you give them more.
Thing is, if he was really a conservative, he should want Tommy Robinson to win. He's just accurately describing reality and warning people like him of the obvious consequences and the obvious future consequences. So, I mean, this is the problem in a lot of the West, is that the conservatives aren't even conservative. But let's continue.
Publicity, and you make people think that you're frightened and that they must be saying something so interesting, so exciting, that it's got to be squashed and kept secret. So I thought the debate was important and the Oxford Union was right to hold it. That's what free speech is about. But
so if you silence them, you make them think there's something super important that they need to know about, like 250,000 British girls being raped and abused. I mean, and the stories like I'm not going to tell you them. You can go look this up yourself. The stories are genuinely, unbelievably horrific. What happened to these girls? Like, again, I'm not going to rate it on this stream. You can go and check for yourself, but it is inhuman what was done to them. Okay? So, but is that the kind of stuff that Jacob Rees-Mogg is talking about here? That, again, this is a British conservative from the Conservative Party.
Some thought otherwise, and a protest took place outside. Now, I'm not against protest. That's another part of freedom of speech. But those who want to go about their lawful affairs ought to be helped to by the police. Protesters shouldn't block them, stop them, stand in their way. But the Thames Valley Police were hopeless. And they responded in this way. A spokesman for the force said, event organisers are responsible for managing events, security and the safety of their guests. Well, that's obviously true. But that's inside the building. Event organisers are not responsible if a whole load of the great unwashed, for want of a better term, protesters, if you want to be more polite, turn up outside. They can't logically be responsible for people outside their own premises. Police went on to say, we've worked closely with the Oxford Union and local partners through well-established safety advisory structures throughout the planning process. This is slightly stretching the truth. As we discussed before, initially they wanted to charge the Oxford Union, a student society, £80,000 for policing Oxford when there were going to be protesters. Now, the protesters were nothing to do with the Oxford Union. They were against the Oxford Union, but the police wanted to be paid for it. This seems to me to be a very...
So, okay, so this guy, at least, he thinks that Tommy Robinson should be, at least this guy thinks Tommy Robinson should be able to speak. So at least he's that conservative. But you can see why the Conservative Party in the UK has all of their, 80% of their support has gone to reform or now restore Britain, because it just just a milksop, I guess. Is that a British thing? I don't know. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, here's a guy who thinks that Tommy Robinson should get shot in the neck. So another empathetic leftist.
One Tommy Robinson. One Tommy Robinson racist pussy.
You want to ban him?
Yeah, ban him. Racist pussy.
Yeah, but you think he should be allowed
racist
to
pussy.
speak?
No, I don't think he should. He should get some gunshot in his neck. One Tommy Robinson.
There you go. All right. So the left isn't hiding it at all, right? They're not hiding it. They want to cover up the systematic rape of 250,000 young girls. They just want Tommy Robinson dead, obviously. Is everybody getting the message? Is everybody getting the message at this point? All right. Let's move on. All right. Okay. What are you guys saying? Let's see what you guys are saying. Let me see if I can do an ad. Is there a good ad for me here? There's something worthwhile for me? I don't know. Maybe we'll do a Rumble Wallet. Maybe it'll get my brain, the wheels and cogs turning in my brain properly, because I've been a bit stunted this evening. All right, people, we hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, and limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today. Everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold, real precious gold. No complicated setup. It connects with the Moon Pay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running within minutes. And that's the best way to be up. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators, like me, directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. All right. There we go. Did that get the cobwebs out of my brain? Usually it works. I don't think it worked this time, though. Let's see. Izzy says, free speech doesn't include the heckler's veto. Part of free speech is freedom to hear someone speak. Absolutely. And they were just trying to block people from getting in to be able to hear it at all. Radio Streamer says they have numbers, and remember the Irish. At a certain point, you can suffer enough to not care. I think they are getting there. It seems like things are coming to a head. Radio Streamer says we should start betting on how long until full civil war erupts across Europe. I give it less than 4 months. Seems to be coming to a head. I would not say 4 months. I'm thinking more in like 10 years to 20 years, 10 to 20 years. You may see something then. Rosie says the details are horrifying, talking about the rape gang inquiry. The posts on X are graphic and not even marked with sensitive topic screen. I read one, will not read anymore. I'm in the same boat as you, Rosie. It's like staring into the abyss. It's awful. Personally, I know too many people who have been victimized. It's just the crimes are so horrible. Like, I don't want to read them. Radio Streamer says they either fight or get replaced. They just couldn't enact it unchecked here. We have more checks and balances that slowed it down long enough for Trump to show up. So that's in the States, yes. Radio Streamer says, is he the British equivalent of Trump? Who are you talking about? Are you talking about, Tommy Robinson, that is? Well, he's not a politician. He's a journalist. And thing is about Trump is, Trump is a totally singular figure. There's no other Trump. Tommy Robinson is the same. He's a singular figure as well. Again, he's not a politician. He's a journalist and an activist. But is he, could you call him accurately make Britain great again? I think you could. Let's see. Trudeau survivor says the Conservative Party in the UK is not conservative. They are big on gun control, net zero nuts, and love government-run healthcare. Well, they are the main betrayal, the biggest betrayal, which caused their collapse electorally, was the mass immigration. Right, their voters made it very clear they wanted an end to the immigration, and then they ended up with the Boris wave, the Boris Johnson wave, because he wanted to be liked by the deep state, and the bankers. So, yeah, that killed the conservative, that betrayal, where it spiked to levels never before seen under a conservative government. That killed the Conservative Party. There's a total reordering of the politics in the UK right now. Izzy says Tommy Robinson is a saint, incredibly brave man. Let's see, what do we got next? Victor Davis Hanson. We're big fans of VDH on this channel. And what is he talking about here? From the Daily Signal, which he does a podcast on. Victor Davis Hanson, the UK's immigration crisis. Well, from the Daily Signal, where he puts out videos. And Victor Davis Hanson, the UK's immigration crisis is spiraling out of control. Yeah, you can see it literally in the streets. The discontent. Let's take a look.
First of all, there have been protests, significant protests against the murders of Henry Nowak in England, the attempt of beheading attempt of the gentleman, I forget his name, forgive me, in Belfast. So throughout Ireland, throughout England, and including in Scotland, there have been Glasgow, there have been these protests. So here's a typical response from your typical Eurocrat. And this is John Swinney, and he's the First Minister of Scotland. Here's the headline it's from The Scotsman, the newspaper over there. Scotland must stand against racism, hatred, and intimidation. First Minister John Swinney has said Scotland must stand against racism, hatred, and intimidation after protests following a knife attack in Belfast. In a post on social media, Mr. Swinney said, "The scenes we saw in Glasgow, Edinburgh, and Ayr last night are unacceptable. Scotland is a welcoming nation, and those who choose to make their lives here are valued members of our community. Racism, hatred, and intimidation have no place in Scotland. We must stand against it."
Don't you? Where did they get? Do they have an AI thing that always turns out this boilerplate? This place has no place here. This isn't who we are. All that stuff.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he just admit that there's no audit of the people coming in to the UK? They come in illegally for the most part. They come from areas that are.
That's actually not true. Most of it is legal. There's a lot of illegal immigration too, but most of it is legal. It's the government intentionally importing people into the UK.
Governed illiberally. They come with religious differences. They have ideas about women and homosexuals, other tribal people, people not of their tribe. They have, very negative views of them. And they won't assimilate or integrate or culturate at a pace that would be expected of any other immigrant. And so they have gotten a message that they're going to be subsidized with housing, education, food, medicine, and the host feels that the host owes them that. And then when they're deterred from the consequences of their behavior, whether it's a rape gang or walking down the street and hitting somebody, then they go to the next level. That's a collective stereotype generalization. But then this demagogic politician, then he doesn't say anything about this, but he wants to give a soapbox platitude so that he feels good about himself. But he doesn't understand that no one's listened to him anymore. There's an entire European movement that if they don't intervene and say, we expect every single person in the UK to have come legally, and they must reside legally, And if you're an immigrant, you must be self-supporting and fully employed, and you will face the full force of the law just like subjects of the crown. Now, if you can't do that, would you please leave? But they can't say that. And I don't know why they can't say it. How they got in this position where some cities are 20, 30%
Yeah.
non-indigenous people, I don't know, but
higher than that, up to, I think, 60% in some, or higher, actually. 60, 70, 80% even.
it's not working, and it's gonna spread. So the next thing that's going to happen is if they won't address it in a sober and moderate fashion, then you're gonna get people frustrated. We saw those 2 girls, I think they were from, Scotland, remember, that were defending themselves from that
With
predator, and
the
everybody
knife and a hatchet?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she was trying to protect is it her sister or her
Her
friend?
sister. Yeah.
Sister, and everybody demonized her and said, "Oh, this is," and then he was found guilty the other day of actually trying to attack them or solicit them in some fashion. But if you allow rape grooming gangs and you don't do anything about it, then the people are going to get frustrated and do that, and they're gonna get violent. And so you have to treat everybody equally under the law, and you have to have the rule of law. That's where we learn the rule of law.
Thing is, leftists can't do that because it's totally counter to their ideology, right? It's just, it feels, I think, unnatural to them, right? Everything is equity. Everything is through the oppressor narrative. And of course, there's only ever one oppressor. Everybody else is oppressed in all circumstances at all times. So they're incapable of behaving rationally, right? It's just more leftism. Well, the solution is just be more left wing. Have to be more welcoming, have to be more delusional. Like, what was he saying here at the beginning? Hold on. Let's see. Hold on.
Henry Nowak, England, and including in Scotland, there have been these, Glasgow, there have been these protests. So here's a typical response from your typical Eurocrat. And this is John Swinney, and he's the First Minister of Scotland. Here's the headline it's from The Scotsman, the newspaper over there. Scotland must stand against racism, hatred, and intimidation.
Scotland must stand against racism, hatred, and intimidation. So what are those things? Racism. So racism is accurately describing reality, right? So pointing out the negative consequences of mass immigration, the real negative consequences, right? The objective negative consequences in terms of crime, in terms of economically, in terms of housing, healthcare, all of those things, in terms of immigrants trying to behead people on the streets of Belfast, for instance, right? So that's racism. Hatred. First off, whoever thought it was a great idea to try and criminalize an emotion, obviously, let me just say, I think it's a bad idea to try and criminalize an emotion. I think it's extremely Orwellian. I think it's an intrusion on somebody's own conscience. I think you have to have dominion over your own conscience. You can't give it away to lunatics like Keir Starmer. You shouldn't be forced to. In fact, I would say that's like torture, is it not? Like, unable to even be true to yourself. That's what they mean by hatred, by the way. That's what they mean by hatred. Intimidation. So that's a truly stunning one coming from the government. Because who's the biggest intimidator, right? Who has the monopoly on violence? Who's really capable of is it the people that can throw you in prison for something you wrote on social media? Because that kind of feels like intimidation to me. All right, it's all just the same old tired stuff. And look, eventually, you can't sweep everything under the rug forever. Eventually, people are going to wake up and notice, and they're going to become so frustrated, right, that they have to be heard at some point. All right. What do we got next? Let's go back to the chat for a second. Radio Streamer says, I think Tommy Robinson could run for office at some point, but they would never allow it. Well, yeah, that's the thing. He could. People would vote for him. Izzy says, I'm firmly against letting people behead me in the street. Rosie says, that is not a very tolerant attitude. 100%. 100%. All right, let's go to something lighter for a minute, shall we? Let's go to something a bit lighter. Let's see. What do we have here? We can't watch this right now. We get copyrighted. Let's see. Is this something fun? What's going on here? How about this? A Coast Guard jumps onto a moving boat and safely stops it in Maryland. Well, let's check Maryland. Let's take a look. Did he get on? Did he get on? Oh, here he goes. There he goes. Nice. That's the most excitement he had that day for sure. Very good. Let's see. What else we got here? What's this? Oh, check this out. This is terrifying. A curious shark turns an ordinary surf session into a tense standoff for the California coast. Drone footage shows the shark tracking a surfer from below the surface, circling near his board as the unaware surfer floats in open water. This is nightmare material, people. Let's take a look. So I guess a guy with a drone, after spotting the danger, the drone operator used his drone to warn the surfer, who quickly paddled for shore. Scary stuff. Scary stuff. Now, sharks are really the most terrifying creature because, like polar bears, lions, and stuff, you could burn those with a flamethrower, right? And stop them. Sharks, though, they're underwater, so fire doesn't work there. So really, you're totally defenseless. That's why they're the most terrifying predator. Let's see. There was only some way to burn them under the water. I don't know. Now, let's check this out. Tattoo artist and his client are catching major heat after she got a Knicks logo tattooed on her face following the team's 2026 NBA championship victory. Well, maybe it's better than rioting. Let's see. Knicks fan. I don't know. Is this mental illness? I mean, it's definitely not mental wellness to do that. Swiping. No. Can't do the music. It's definitely not mental wellness, is it? Is that real? Oh, no, it's not a real tattoo. Oh, wait a second. No, he puts that on and then he tattoos over top of it. Is he going to tattoo over top of it? There, he's tattooing over top of it. God damn it. God damn it. No, woman. What's wrong with you? Bad decisions. And like, do you know what your team is? Your team is an economic zone. That's all it really is, right? So you just had your favorite economic zone tattooed on your face. That is just like, I mean, I'm not going to say it should be illegal, although maybe, maybe. I'm thinking that if somebody tattoos that on your face and you change your mind later, you should be able to sue them. How about that? Radio Streamer says, this could be fake. We would need to see her on social media. Do you know what? That's the thing. And I always forget about that people are really dishonest these days. Let's take a look at, let's see what Grok has to say. Let's see. When we get into this, celebrate that. That's the backlash. Is it real? Is it real? Let's find out. Yes, the video in that post is real. Genuine clip from tattoo artist R. Perkins Tattoos, who's a Knicks fan himself and has been posting multiple Knicks championship-related tattoos, but I didn't see a Knicks tattoo on his face. Good Lord. How are you proud of yourself for that? No indication it's staged. AI. Well, I didn't think it was AI, but I thought maybe it was staged. Let's see. Like there was no ink in the gun or something like that. Let's see. In the needle. Tattoo regret is a real thing. You don't say. You don't say. All right. All right. Well, let's get back to the regular news. Let's get rid of this. All right. Mark Carney. Why do I have this up? So, all right. So the net zero finance grift goes on in Canada. Mark Carney's going all the way with it. He wants to max out the national credit card for his net zero finance grift. What is he saying here? Now, Canada desperately needs to get our natural resources out to the rest of the world, particularly oil and natural gas, because the rest of the world wants it. It doesn't care how it's going to get it. They're buying as much from Russia as they can get. They're buying as much from the United States as they can get, from the Middle East as they can get. And guess what? No carbon capture, no net zero stuff. Mark Carney tells us that we have to do like carbon capture and have the carbon pricing to be competitive, even though nobody else is doing it and nobody cares. And clearly it's going to make us less competitive to make our oil and natural gas more expensive. But I guess, people eat this stuff up for some reason, and he's still very popular in Canada.
There we go. I'd like to welcome the Pathways to this. The pipeline will only be advanced with the following prerequisites being met. The first is the building of Pathways, renamed the Oil Sands Alliance. This is the world's largest carbon capture, utilization, and storage project. It will make Alberta oil amongst the lowest carbon intensity per barrel produced. In other words,
for no purpose. If every single carbon capture project planned, existing now and planned around the world by 2030, if every single one of them went through, okay, it would be less than 1% of global carbon. Less than 1%. Considerably less than 1%. This is nothing. That's if every single one went through. Every single project. And almost none of them will. Only in Canada is this stuff considered important, right? This does nothing. It's not going to change the weather. It's absolutely not. It's not just that it's not going to change the weather. It can't have any effect on global climate. This is just a boondoggle. Okay? This is about climate finance, which means it's about money. And it's about funneling taxpayer money through subsidies to Mark Carney's friends in Brookfield and propping up this net zero finance scheme that Mark Carney has been working on for a very long time. Let's not forget, he was the UN climate finance envoy. very heavily invested in it himself through Brookfield. So, but the thing is, he pretends like this matters, like it's important. But, who was the king of climate? Who was the original king of climate? Al Gore was the original king of climate alarmism. Let's see. Here's Bjorn Lomborg, who you may have seen before. He is a guy who Bjorn Lomborg has been trying to tamp down climate alarmism for a long time. And it turns out that he's been right the whole time, and Al Gore has been wrong the whole time. Al Gore's inaccurate untruths distorted policy. Climate alarmism raised awareness, but it skewed policy towards expensive emissions reductions rather than research into cheap, clean energy. So, of course, it was the Inconvenient Truth movie, right? That's the thing that set the whole world alight. 2 decades ago, Al Gore's movie, An Inconvenient Truth, thrust climate change into the global spotlight. Its dramatic imagery and dire warnings helped transform a niche concern into a front-page crisis, influencing rich country leaders and elite jet-setters and inspiring a generation of activists. And people like Mark Carney are part of Al Gore's legacy. What do we have here? The film's core narrative was that climate change is driving ever-worsening disasters such as floods, droughts, storms, and wildfires. Yet over the past century, even as global population quadrupled, deaths from these climate-related disasters have plummeted. In the 1920s, an average of nearly 500,000 people died from such events every year. In other words, climate killed 500,000 people every year. Today, that number is under 10,000. A decline of over 97%. Richer, smarter societies have made us dramatically safer, proving adaptation and resilience work far better than alarmism suggests. And also, too, all those islands that were supposed to be underwater now, not underwater. Gore's film claimed we would see more frequent and stronger hurricanes because of climate change. The movie's poster showed a hurricane coming out of a smokestack, but in fact, global data reveal a slight decline in both hurricanes' frequency and in their total energy since comprehensive satellite data became available in 1980. Well, what do we have here? Data. So when did his movie come out? It came out in 2006. This is the total energy here. Accumulated cyclone energy. I'm not sure what this is recorded in, but let's just go off the raw numbers here. 2006, 757.8. What is it? 19 years later, 2025, 728.6. 2024, 630. What was it in 2004? 1009.2. Huh, that's interesting. 2023, 8.62. 2003, 8.29. So, yeah, the predictions didn't happen. We can go back earlier, too. We can go back, look at these numbers here, right? 855, 930, 860, 1163. That's going back into the late 80s and 90s. So, I mean, that's worse than now, right? So, yeah, the predictions haven't happened yet. It hasn't stopped Mark Carney from trying to make money off of it. Wildfires follows a similar pattern. Globally, the area burned annually has fallen by more than 25% over the past quarter century, according to NASA data. Because of forest mismanagement, recent years have seen large U.S. fires, but the 1930s Dust Bowl was 5 times worse. On all other continents, fires are down. Fires are down. Well, let's see. Do we have something for this? Here we go. Climate alarmists claim the world is ever more on fire. It is not. NASA satellite data from 2001 shows global burned area down. 2025 had near record low burned area. So it's just not true, right? the whole basis of Mark Carney's call to action on climate is false. It's false. Why is he doing it? He must know that. He must know that. Why is he doing it? What are his incentives? Well, if they're not Canadians' incentives, his incentives are tied in with net zero finance and making sure that he can take the national credit card and max it out to subsidize the net zero climate finance framework that he has spent so many years building. What does hold on a second. Okay, let's yeah, so and we still get this. Let's watch.
I'd like to welcome the Pathways to this. The pipeline will only be advanced with the following prerequisites being met. The first is the building of Pathways, renamed the Oil Sands Alliance. This is the world's largest carbon capture, utilization, and storage project. It will make Alberta oil amongst the lowest intensity, carbon intensity per barrel produced.
I guess what? It's still oil. It's still oil. It's still made out of carbon, right? It's all just a giant joke and a scam. This benefits, it doesn't benefit climate. It doesn't benefit Canadians. It benefits him and his friends. That's why this is happening. That's why a new pipeline won't get built without it, without the pathways, without the carbon capture, without the carbon pricing. That's why. And that's the only reason. All right. Hold on. All right. So that's that. Let's get rid of this. We must be getting close to the end now. What are you guys talking about? Let's see what you guys are talking about. Maybe I can do another ad too. That'd be exciting. Let's see. What have we got? Try Nova Health. What? I can't pass that one up. All right, people. Access Med, powered by Trinova Health, is a revolutionary telehealth service that offers fast, free online evaluations and free home delivery of customized, compounded medications, offering custom weight loss support, ivermectin therapy, hair restoration, cosmetic rejuvenation, custom ED treatments, wink, wink, and more. You can complete your visit in less than 10 minutes, and there's no subscriptions or recurring fees ever. We've made getting started easier than ever. Simply follow the link, choose the product or treatment that you're interested in, and then complete a quick online evaluation. Within days, your custom meds will arrive to your door. Mention Rumble in the coupon code and get 10% off your first treatment. You know what to do. Oh, that was good. That was good. I didn't put any commie hate into it because I don't have the energy to think that fast, to improvise. But we'll get through this, people. Let's see. What are you guys talking about? I'm going to see what you guys are talking about. What the hell are you guys babbling about here? All right. I got to find something I can actually read here. Let's see. I have no idea what you guys are talking about in the chat. It has nothing to do with what I've been talking about, which is extremely typical. Oh, Izzy says, do they have cures for commies? Would be nice to save some souls. That was my in with the commie hate on that ad read. That was my in right there, Izzy. Damn it. It was right there. How could I not see that? How could I not see that? Be able to say they might even be able to cure your communism, your tragic case of communism, if you have it. Damn it, I got to remember that for next time. All right. Rosie says, oops, Rumble Wallet had 9.7 out of 10. Excellent read. More commie hate. All right. Well, 9.7 out of 10. I'm not a mathematician, but I think that's the most you can get out of 10. Radio Streamer says 8.8 out of 10. Needs more commie hate. But for a normal read, pretty good. Pretty good. Hey, 8.8 out of 10. I believe that is the most you can get out of 10. Radio Streamer says preventative care is the only way with communism. Once it's in, less than 5% survival. It's tragic. It is so tragic. I believe you're right, though. I believe you're right. Anybody watching on YouTube, go subscribe to the second channel. This is where all the clip videos go. Radio Baloney News. It's been around for about 10 months. I need a couple more 100 subscribers to get monetized. Please help me out with that. All the clip videos go here now. All right. What's next? Okay. So let's talk about Indigenous land claims in Canada and how it's really destabilizing this country. It's kind of swept under the rug for now. The media isn't really comfortable talking about it too much, but British Columbia, for example, after the Cowichan ruling, where you have a whole group of, where you have a whole part of a Canadian city where the homeowners are just in limbo. They don't have any idea what's going to happen with their, life's work. Most people, their property is their life's work. That's their retirement. They're in limbo. They have no idea what's happening with Indigenous title, with fee simple title. This is a major problem. I would not expect any investment in British Columbia as long as this stuff is looming, as long as these lawsuits are still happening. But here's Cat Canada posting this. It's Pierre Poilievre speaking on this very, very serious issue, on this serious risk to private property rights in Canada. I never thought I would live to see this day where private property rights were at risk, but here we are. I mean, this is what you get, 11 years of a radical progressive government. Cat Canada, Libs further risk property rights with new treaty. So there is a new treaty. We're going to get to it, and I'm going to show you how absurd the whole thing is. But first, let's hear Pierre Poilievre.
Property rights and home ownership have been under threat after the BC Supreme Court found that Aboriginal title takes priority over fee simple title. Last August, BC Supreme Court made this ruling, threatening 800 acres and $1 billion of real estate and creating a precedent that could threaten almost every single homeowner in British Columbia if other Indigenous tribes make the same claim. And what did the federal Liberals do? Because this is a federal lawsuit that is aimed at the federal government. This Liberal government put in place Litigation Directive 14, which prohibits federal lawyers from arguing that your home and your small business property takes precedence over any other claim. Litigation Guideline 14 literally bans our lawyers from defending your home and making the necessary arguments. Instead, Liberals showed up at court making small technical arguments that the judge easily threw out. The judge, in fact, noticed that the Liberals had not argued for the extinguishment of all other claims in the event of fee simple property when she made her ruling. So that's why we brought this to the attention of Mark Carney. He claimed he was going to be different. So we assumed that he would change this Liberal litigation directive. We were wrong. He voted in the House of Commons to keep that directive in place. And on the government's website today, he is still instructing his lawyers not to argue that your home title comes first over all other claims. There are real consequences, even while this is an appeal. $100 million financing in Richmond was recently turned down by lenders because of the ruling. For the Prime Minister to claim that he disagrees with the Cowichan ruling while he bans his own lawyers from making the necessary arguments to overturn it is dishonest. But it gets worse. Carney Liberals are now signing agreements that further risk your home and your property. Now the Liberals are...
Before we get to that, let's go to Directive 14. So litigation guideline, and this is Government of Canada. This is the Attorney General of Canada's directive on civil litigation involving Indigenous people. This is former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould. It says, we have stated our commitment to a significant move away from the status quo and a fundamental change in Canada's relationship with Indigenous peoples. That includes the Crown's conduct in litigation. Okay, so let's go to Directive 14 and see what Pierre Poilievre is talking about. All right. Limitations and equitable defenses should be pleaded only where there is a principled basis and evidence to support the defense. Extinguishment, surrender, abandonment. The principles discourage certain long-standing federal positions, including relying on defenses such as extinguishment, surrender, and abandonment. So abandonment would be you'd have to prove that you were inhabiting that land before colonization until the modern day. Surrender would be that you surrendered the land in exchange for payment. Extinguishment is just fee simple is above everything else, essentially. When considering pleading these defenses, counsel must seek approval from the Assistant Deputy Attorney General. Did that happen? It doesn't sound like that happened at all. So, and let's go here. Federal lawyers were hamstrung. Conservatives target policy on Indigenous land claims. Federal conservatives say they plan to introduce a motion to reverse a policy they argue contributed to a controversial court ruling granting Aboriginal title over land in Richmond, BC. This is from May 19th, 2026. The ruling, handed down last summer, recognized Aboriginal title for Cowichan tribes over roughly 800 acres, including land with homes, farms, and businesses. It is currently under appeal. So this ruling gave Aboriginal title supremacy over fee simple. So that means these people don't actually own their homes anymore. Speaking at a Richmond hotel, Conservative MPs said the decision has created financial uncertainty for some property owners and raised broader concerns about the economic impact. 95% of BC is under threat of this. That this will turn, if this continues, if this is not turned around, if this is not extinguished, BC will become a third world state. I mean, there will be no investment, and nobody would. Why would anybody even think of investing in British Columbia? It's totally insane. We're talking about $2 trillion worth of property here. This has had adverse effect on our economy, on individuals, of course, but also on our economy, said Langley Township Fraser Heights MP Taco Van Popta. Andrew Scheer, House Leader for the Federal Conservatives, said his party believes federal lawyers were limited in how they argued the case. The Conservative Party believes that the Liberals made a massive mistake when they ordered their government lawyers not to defend private property rights in this case. It's so insane, I can't even believe I'm reading it. At the center of the debate is Directive 14, a federal policy introduced in 2019, of course, under Trudeau. The policy guides how government lawyers handle Indigenous land claims, encouraging them to limit the use of legal technicalities and favor negotiation as part of reconciliation efforts. So all that infinite empathy is kind of backfiring a little bit. The BC government has adopted a similar approach for its own lawyers. Some legal experts say the directive influenced how the case was argued. Quote, the federal lawyers were hamstrung by this directive, said Jeffrey Moyes, a King's Counsel with more than 3 decades of experience in Indigenous law. The idea behind it was that it was somehow offensive for the Crown to litigate against Aboriginal people in various ways. Yes, it was just another insane, super counterproductive virtue signal from the Trudeau government. Here is a lawyer with First People's. Well, let's take a look at this. Others dispute that claim. Quote, Directive 14 doesn't have anything to say about private property rights, said Bruce McIver, a lawyer with First People's Law. It's disingenuous for the Conservatives to imply or state that it does. But then he goes on to say this. So if the Conservatives were successful in removing Directive 14, what they'll have done is open the door for the extinguishment argument, the denial of Aboriginal title. So it actually does have everything to do with property rights, huh? So, I mean, obviously, this is what should have happened. You can't just give away the country. Like, that's literally what this is, giving away the country. Giving away, in the case of BC, giving away an entire province. It makes no sense. It's insanity. This is woke dysfunction. This is where woke dysfunction really starts to hurt people, right? I mean, it's one thing for professors to spout ridiculous things. It's another thing when it really starts to affect people's lives, their life's work, their house, right? Their retirement plan. Let's continue.
The couch and ruling, while he bans his own lawyers from making the necessary arguments to overturn it, is dishonest. But it gets worse. Carney Liberals are now signing agreements that further risk your home and your property. Now the Liberals are set to ratify a new treaty. The Comox First Nation and the BC government have signed this treaty, which says that UNDRIP is the authoritative source of its
in UNDRIP, the UN part stands for United Nations, just so you know where it came from.
Of all its interpretations. As it is well known, especially here in BC, UNDRIP threatens Canada's parliamentary sovereignty, rule of law, resource development, and property rights. The BC government has already found itself in high-profile court cases because it has adopted UNDRIP through the DRIPA law. By implementing an agreement that appeals to UNDRIP as the authoritative source, the Carney Liberals would elevate UNDRIP from policy commitment to legally binding guideline, threatening your home and threatening resource projects. Further, the Comox Treaty also refers to itself as a living agreement, meaning that it will never be settled, that it could be renegotiated with more and more demands for decades to come.
Okay, let's go to that Comox agreement. British Columbia, BC government news. All right. So gov.bc. Comox Treaty introduced in BC legislature. April 14th, 2026. BC treaty negotiations process reaches historic milestone. So what does this really mean? Hold on. So first you should know the Comox tribe has 351 registered members, of whom 102 reside on reserve. This is a tiny number of people. And of course, there's dozens of different groups. Let's see. How much does this add up to? Let's see. One-time capital transfer of approximately $56.5 million from Canada. I repeat, this was 300 people. Okay. Let's see. Another 5.1 million here. 600,000. One-time fisheries implementation. One-time funding, 20 million. One-time implementation of self-government startup funding, 7.6 million. Approximately 6.2 million per year in ongoing funding. Canada to provide approximately 600,000 in ongoing funding to support fisheries. BC to provide annual interim funding of 400,000. Let's see, there's 725,000, but 56,000 annually for 16 years. So what's that? That's $800,000 there. So just in the first year, this is, I believe, around $90 million. And then with the ongoing payments after. Okay, so this is for 351 registered members. 102 reside on reserve. Only 102 people even reside in this area. And again, this is just one small case, just one. out of what will be dozens and dozens. And this isn't making any sense. I mean, this is lunacy, right? This is actually crazy. What are they doing? What are they doing? And of course, they're giving them land title over the land. But it doesn't stop there. March 3rd, 2026. PR didn't talk about this one. Carney government's new agreement with BC First Nation raises many critical questions. So this is actually totally insane. I talked about it at the time. This is just incomprehensible. On February 20th, the Carney government released a short statement about the unpronounceable Rights Recognition Agreement. The incomprehensible title refers to a land claim agreement with the Musqueam Indian Band that will affect most of Greater Vancouver. Most of Greater Vancouver. This is one of Canada's largest cities. Okay? I can truthfully say this news release is the strangest event I have ever seen. I have ever seen in a half century of observing Indigenous. I've seen in a half century of observing Indigenous affairs in Canada. Here's why. Normally, governments announce land claim agreements with great fanfare, but this one was buried in a fisheries agreement. Yes, they tried to hide it. Even David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, says he was not notified, which is itself incomprehensible. It turned out he was lying. He was actually there at the signing. How can the federal government negotiate a major agreement affecting the province's largest city without notifying the provincial government? Most Canadians don't understand just how dysfunctional and damaging this current government is. They have no idea because the media won't tell them. The text of such agreements is always made public because the agreements become part of Canadian law, but neither the federal government nor the Musqueam has released the text of this one. It was leaked on March 3rd in a scribed version and can be read in some media accounts, but it's been withdrawn from Scribed, a digital library service, so it could not be downloaded. Apparently, the government still doesn't want the public to see the agreement. According to the text of the agreement, it's not a treaty or a land claim agreement, but what should you call it? It's legally enforceable and recognizes Musqueam rights and title over most of Greater Vancouver, containing about 1.8 million people. Never before in Canada has Aboriginal title been recognized over a densely populated area already replete with private titles for residences and businesses. And the Musqueam, by the way, are about 1,500 people in total. This is baffling. It's just shockingly unbelievable. I mean, I don't want to think that Mark Carney is actually totally incompetent, but what else is this? This is wild. This is wild. The Cowichan situation is going on. This is utter and total madness. Utter and total madness. This is while the Cowichan case is being appealed. It's beyond shocking. These people are not fighting for Canada, right? What Carney's goals are, what his incentives are, well, they're not our incentives, obviously. All right, so let's get rid of these. But all right, we're 2 hours and 20 minutes in already. Wow. Okay, let's get rid of these. All right, we got Pierre Poilievre again here. So Bruce McGonigal posted this, and Pierre Poilievre is saying he's never going to take down the Canadian flag or allow statues to be torn down when he becomes prime minister. This is exactly what we need. Somebody who's not ashamed of Canada, of Canada's history, or just of Western civilization, because that's what it really comes down to, isn't it? It's a hatred of Western civilization. It's the radical progressive war against Western civilization. And this is not a healthy thing for the West, right? it is objectively true. I say it's objectively true that Western civilization, countries like Canada, have been the pinnacle of human well-being in every single way, in terms of prosperity, in terms of rights, just human well-being. They've been the pinnacle, and it's not even close. To hate ourselves, to spend all of our time criticizing ourselves and looking at our navel is insane. It's bad for us. It's also bad for the rest of the world. Because when the West gets poor, the rest of because when the West becomes poor, everywhere else gets even poorer than they already are. Anyway, let's continue.
I think there's so many months now that are dedicated to so many causes. It's kind of getting hard to even keep track of which month is for which cause or for which group. My view is we should treat everyone equally, regardless of their race, gender, sexual orientation, or any other irrelevant characteristic. Every Canadian should be treated absolutely equal under the law. I don't believe in dividing people into separate groups or defining them based on group identity. We need to recognize the inherent humanity of every individual. Or as Martin Luther King says, judge a man by the content of his character, not the color of his skin. So I also believe that it should be the Canadian flag at the top of Canadian flagpoles. That is when I'm Prime Minister, we will fly the Canadian flag everywhere and always. We should never take down the Canadian flag for any reason. We have to be united now more than ever. I note that the other day there's a statue of Samuel de Champlain that was torn down. One of the great pre-Confederation contributors to what would eventually become Canada. Would we even have Canada without Samuel de Champlain? And they want to tear that down. It's time to stop tearing down statues, taking down flags. It's time to do the opposite. Let's erect our statues. Let's raise our flag. Let's tell our stories. Let's sing our songs. Let's be united for our country, all as equal citizens living free under the law.
Yes, Canada has been an unqualified good for the world and everybody in it. All right? Where was I going with that? I'm getting tired. What everybody needs is perspective. How do you get perspective? Well, you pay attention to what's happening around you, right? You notice that there's countries like North Korea, right? You notice that most of the world is not a free place that you would want to live in. Not prosperous. There's no possibility of becoming prosperous outside of corruption. Liberal democracies worked out really well for the world. Right? Capitalism has worked out fantastic for the world. I mean, if you take a look at, global wealth, like it's a hockey stick, basically going straight up shortly after the Industrial Revolution. Capitalism has been an unqualified good. It's not that long ago, a couple hundred years ago, 95%, 98% of the population lived in dire poverty. That's the population of the world. Now it's down under 10%, right? Communism didn't do that. Communism can't do that because it doesn't produce anything. That's why people starve so much under communism, right? There's nothing to apologize, right? To claim that Canada is a continuing genocide state, as Trudeau did, is an insult to the English language, and it's an insult to just thought. It's idiotic and insane, right? To claim that Canada is a post-national state. Well, Trudeau and now Carney are trying as hard as they can to make that a reality. Hopefully they will fail. To say Canada has no core identity, again, the Liberal Party over the last 11 years has been doing their damnedest to try and make that true. But I'm not black-pilled. I think the country can be rescued, but we have to stop apologizing. We have to stop pretending that we're evil, that Canada's this evil force, right? We have to stop spouting absurdities about decolonizing everything, decolonize quantum physics. I mean, it has really gotten that absurd at this point. Decolonize English literature. How does that make any sense? Like, how does decolonizing any part of modern civilization make sense? These are all products of colonization. It literally, decolonize, at hospitals makes about as much sense as decolonizing English literature. Total and utter absurdities, wastes of time and human potential. Everything that Pierre Poilievre just said there is the exact opposite of the Liberal Party that rules Canada today. Right? Mark Carney is not a moderate. Mark Carney is a radical leftist, just like his protege, Justin Trudeau. And just as much of a hypocrite. All right. Ranty. Getting a little ranty in here. All right. We don't need that. Let's move on. All right, let's take a look at Billboard Chris here. So Stellar Fox posted this clip. So smug, yet notice she never answers his question. Well, let's take a look. So Billboard Chris is a guy who's become famous for going out in public, standing there with a billboard that says children cannot consent to puberty blockers, which is just an accurate description of reality, obviously. What's going on here?
Hello.
Hey, what are you guys doing? Not so bad. What are we chatting about?
Oh, we were talking about politics and all sorts of things, but I'm out here talking about what I consider to be the greatest child abuse scandal in modern medicine history. What do you think of it?
Oh boy. Okay, so the entire history of puberty blockers predates this issue by decades and decades. It first emerged in like the 1950s.
You're going to tell me for precocious puberty. For prostate cancer, it's used for endometriosis, it's used for uterine fibroids. But I'm not out here talking about precocious puberty, where they perhaps give a kid this drug for a year and then take the child off so that normal puberty can resume.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about children who do not have this medical condition, who are perfectly healthy and who have been indoctrinated to believe this horrendous lie that they were born in the wrong body. That's funny?
Why is it so hard for these people to believe that children can be indoctrinated? Like, do they doubt that children were indoctrinated in like the Hitler Youth or something, right? Like, clearly, children are easily influenced. I mean, how is this confusing for these people? Baffling to me.
I do think that's very funny, yes.
How come?
Are you live streaming?
No, just recording.
Oh, okay. Well, I give you permission to use my image if you do want to post this later.
Okay, I don't need it, but that's fine. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.
Would you mind doing me a favor and just slide this way a little so we're a little closer to the camera?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you guys were having a conversation that I'm kind of interrupting there.
It's all good. This is what I'm here for.
Very comforting. Thank you.
I've been doing this for 5 years and 8 months.
What good do you feel you contributed by doing this?
Well, I've created awareness among tens of millions for sure. I've done all sorts of things behind the scenes, helping individuals, helping other organizations, helping people with model legislation, working with organizations around the world, testifying at the European Parliament a couple times, testifying at the UN Human Rights Council, testifying at the UN in New York, testifying at different state legislatures, winning a huge freedom of speech lawsuit against the Australian government. And yeah, educating millions.
Yeah, I think she was asking what good he thinks he's doing by this, which is such a strange question. Like, how could it not occur to these people that maybe, just maybe, these children are not born in the wrong body, and maybe permanently medicalizing them, sterilizing them, and mutilating them is harming them, right? Has this person obviously hasn't bothered to see what's happening around the world. I mean, in the wokest countries in the world, like Sweden Denmark, the UK, they have seriously walked this stuff back in favor of psychiatric treatment, counseling, because they looked at their own data and went, actually, this is not real. The claims are not real. The claims made about the benefits of so-called gender-affirming care, which is a euphemism, it doesn't add up. It's not real. In fact, the evidence states that this is damaging children, not helping them, right? The WPATH files, right? How can you be so smug and so certain when you have done literally zero research on any of this, right? And it should just be obvious. You don't need to be, for one thing, you don't need to be a health expert, a medical expert, to suspect that taking confused children and permanently medicalizing them, preventing them, giving them puberty blockers and preventing them from growing into healthy adult bodies, which they have no idea what it's like to live in, right? You don't need to be a medical expert to say, yeah, that seems really wrong. This seems like a really bad idea. Doesn't occur to them, though. I guess it's the bubble. I guess it's the bubble. He's probably the first person she's ever talked to that disagrees with her, I would guess. Right? And clearly she had no idea what she was walking into there. It's all just madness. Total madness. Here, let's see. Mia Hughes has been fighting this battle for a long time. And in fact, she was the one who published the WPATH files, the leaked documents, internal documents from the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, which is the authority to which the authorities appeal. So to basically wash themselves of guilt, like the Endocrine Society, American Pediatric Society, they'll appeal to WPATH. They wash them of the guilt of their complicity. But the WPATH files revealed that they had no idea what they were doing. They were making it up as they were going along, and it was not in any way science-based or evidence-based. In fact, they're basically a criminal organization. Mia Hughes, when WPATH said its standards of care 8 was evidence-based, they were lying. When they said it was science-based, they were lying. When they said getting affirming care was medically necessary, they were lying. Well, let's hear this.
The tiny fraction that we've saw so unbelievably damning that it shows without a shadow of a doubt that Standards of Care 8 is a fraudulent document. When they say it's evidence-based, they're lying. When they say it's science-based, they're lying. When they say this treatment is medically necessary, they're lying. And we know that from the documents that we've seen from the emails. How did it not bring down WPATH completely? How are people still using these fraudulent standards of care? And how can we make it so that whoever has the power to go after them goes after them?
Well, why are people still using these standards of care? Well, it's obvious at this point, right, that it's just a fraud. It's a medical crime. The reason is political correctness. It's extremely powerful. Political correctness is extremely powerful. People don't want to lose their jobs. Canada will be the last. She's Canadian, by the way. Canada will be the last country standing on this lunacy, right? Everybody else will have thrown it away, will have stopped and just quietly backed away from it, right? Canada will be the last one standing. But it's the mind virus, right? It's political correctness and the mind virus, the idea pathogen that robs people of their agency and free will. It's hard for normal people to comprehend how you would support and encourage medical crimes, medical experiments against children. It's hard for you or for I to comprehend somebody having such a lack of conscience. And I do think you have to see them as actually no longer having a conscience, no longer having dominion over their own conscience, if they do, in fact, have one at this point. I think you have to see them as woke zombies, victims of an idea pathogen that they had no immunity to whatsoever. Let's see. Here in the States, well, in this one here, Benjamin Ryan, children's hospital doctors refuse to provide gender-affirming care to trans youth. They're not trans youth. That's the whole point, is that they're not. You don't know that. Fearing criminal charges. Children's Hospital Colorado was forced to resume gender-affirming care through a court order, but the doctors who work there won't do it. Yes. Good. Fearing criminal charges. Yes, because it is a crime. Good. So there's progress in Colorado. All right. Let's go back to the chat for a second. We're getting close to the end here. Radio Streamer says Alberta separatism is only going to grow stronger with this crap. Let's just give them all the pipelines in the world when they leave. Let's see. I think he was talking about the lands claim stuff there. Radio Streamer says, I used to think that when you conquer a land, the people that lose, you own it and your laws apply. This is why there should be no reservations after all these years, not with their own government at least. Well, Canada wasn't conquered, though. It was really cooperative. It was different than down in the States or down in Mexico or South America. It's a different story. And the question is that, okay, so are you going to destabilize a modern technological civilization because somebody used to fish at some little place, and now there's a group of, 300 people or something, or 500 people or 1,000 people that could say that a judge believes that they used to fish in this place. And now the infrastructure, everything, that land is now theirs for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Canada is the civilization that's on it. Okay, Canada is the roads, the electrical grid, the hospitals, the power lines, the gas station, everything, the stores. That's what Canada is, right? Like, it's so insane to say that you are going to essentially give control of that. Because if you give land title away to somebody else, right, they're going to have, of course, a very important say in what happens, whether you can sell it, what you can do on it. They can set regulations. This is crazy. I mean, this will, again, I have a hard time believing it could actually happen, but it continues apace. Like, just this alone, forget about everything else. Forget about the trade with the United States. Like, just this alone could impoverish Canada, could drive all investment out of the country. I mean, we've already lost $1 trillion or something in the last decade down to the States. But just this alone, this uncertainty could really crush this country. It's just total and utter madness, right? I've been saying, and I don't even mean it in jest. I say, if we're going to have land acknowledgements, well, maybe we should have some electricity acknowledgements, some modern civilization acknowledgements, some modern dentistry acknowledgements, some flat screen TV acknowledgements, some modern dentistry acknowledgements. The only thing worse than having a dentist is not having a dentist, right? Maybe we should have some roads and automobiles, internal combustion engine acknowledgements, right? Because how do we just ignore that? Ignore the fact that there's a civilization here that everybody enjoys. We have zero perspective in this country. We're like a bunch of children. Everything about leftism, about progressivism, is just so childish. It's like with the so-called gender-affirming care for minors, right? Who thinks that 12-year-olds could make important life-changing decisions? 12-year-olds think that, and progressives. Everything about it is childish, beyond childish, just first-order thinking from a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old. Madness. Radio Streamer says, and where does this stop? It does not. There will always be some person, someplace related to distant people that will make more claim. It's all madness. We should all be working together to make this civilization better because that's the real world as it exists now. It doesn't make it. It's just creating this insane division is not going to be good for anybody. Streamer says, Pierre Poilievre is my favorite Canadian politician. I'm a fan. I will vote for him. I voted for him last time, and I'll vote for him next time. Streamer says he should hand out little Apple badges for his party with a Canadian flag. That's actually a really good idea. Trudeau Survivor says, Billboard Chris was recently arrested in Spain. I saw that for a couple of hours. The police took his phone. He had to use his Apple Watch to contact his lawyers. I did see that. But, yeah, I mean, they weren't able to do anything, and he's back. He's back now. Let's see. But Spain the government there is a socialist government, very, very radically leftist. All right, I'm going to skip down in the chat. Rosie says, hearts to all. Good to see everyone. Your opinions encourage me. Good night. Oh, we lost Rosie. Good night, Rosie. Hope to see you Sunday. Trudeau Survivor says, I want the politicians who do land acknowledgements to forfeit their properties. Yeah, they wouldn't be doing them for very long then, would they? Let's see. Okay. All right. We did this one. We did that. What do we have here? From Viva Fry here. Meanwhile, in Canada, a Moncton man from Haiti, brutally stabbed 2 police officers. His sentencing is set for today. The judge is going to do a, quote, impact of race and culture assessment. This is something that Trudeau and his this is something that Trudeau and his infinite empathy brought into being. What the heck is that, you might be asking? The impact of race and cultural assessment from the guy from Haiti? So I guess the idea is that Canadians somehow oppressed him in Haiti, or I guess he got racialized when he came to Canada. That must be it. Or maybe both. I don't know. I'm not crazy, but our government is. These assessments were introduced in Canada in 2021 and are used to inform sentencing judges of systemic racism and disadvantages faced by Black offenders. They may also recommend alternatives to incarceration. It's just madness. Again, this 2-tiered law in Canada. And it is actually law. Judges are instructed to do this. This is something that Justin Trudeau brought about. The assumption is that he's not white, so he must have been oppressed or something. Oppressed and disadvantaged some way. How long has he been in Canada? I don't know. It wouldn't matter. If he got here yesterday, it wouldn't matter. This is just what happens in Canada. This is woke dysfunction. Woke dysfunction. He's from Haiti. Why is he even still here? Moncton man pleads guilty to assaulting 2 police officers. One of the officers, assaulted by Edva Mascari, was stabbed in the head 3 times. Canada. I'm sure he just needs a hug. All right, what do we got next? I might save this for Sunday. I'm getting tired. Maybe we'll save this for Sunday. What are we, 2 hours and 45 minutes? All right, let's just do the last bit of stuff. America memed. What is your job? Block cameras on the Mona Lisa at the Louvre. So this is a job, just block people from taking pictures. I guess it the flashes damage the priceless artwork. Let's take a look.
Aquí la gente no quiere que tome fotos.
So they make it pretty clear they don't want people taking photos. And what's even the point of taking a photo from there? You can't see it. People are so stupid. People are so fucking retarded. All right. And also museums are boring. Boring. All right. This one we got to save for the Monday stream. You know what? I think that's it. I think I'm tired, you guys. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to save the rest of this. There's not much left. We're going to save it for Sunday. We're almost 3 hours in, but we have to do a raid, a Rumble raid. Is everybody ready for that? In fact, we'll cut off the YouTube part now before we do the Rumble raid. And good night, everybody on YouTube, and hopefully see you on Sunday at 6 p.m. at Pacific time. Let's go. All right, that's over. Let's see. What